here's your host, Bill Lasky.
All right, welcome into a Tuesday night Sports Phone KNBR show with Bill Lasky. The Giants, after an exciting weekend where they beat the Boston Red Sox 2 out of 3, in such a dramatic form on Sunday where they hit 3 home runs, 11 hits, and they won 9-5. The day off took the bats and made them silent today. And boy, they did. Miami Marlins, who came in here winning 6 out of their last 10 games. They beat the Braves 2 out of 3 in Miami, flew in here and took game 1 as they beat the Giants 4-2 at Oracle Park, getting 11 hits. You look at this Marlin team and you start shaking your head wondering why they're 32-45. They got some good thumpers. They got some good hitters, and they got speed to talk about. When the Giants went down to Miami, they won 2 out of the 3 games. They won the first one 2-0, lost the next one 1-0, and won the last one 4-2. There wasn't that much hitting in that series. But today, Miami Marlins came out and they attacked. And what did they do? They got 2 runs in the second inning off Justin Verlander, added 1 more in the third inning. He goes 5 innings, and you scratch your head and you just say, well, what's going on with Justin Verlander? Well, to me, I think his stuff is there. I really do. When you look at his fastball, he threw 48 of them. Height was 95. He usually got between 93, 94. The slider, he threw 18 of them, 89, 90. The speed is there. The direction of the pitch is there. The changeup, he threw 17 of them in the mid-80s. Really had a nice changeup today. Couple curveballs. But the problem is that I'm seeing in Justin Verlander, he gets ahead of hitters. There's no question he gets ahead of. Today, 21 hitters, 15 first-pitch strikes. It's the put-away pitch that bothers me when he gets to 2 strikes. And some of them are 0-2. His last outing, he lost on 2 big pitches, 0-2, put it right down the middle. Today, it cost him also. He hung a 2-2 curveball. He hung a 3-2 slider. And these are the pitches where they should be put-away pitches, and they got hurt by it. One was Wagaman's double in the second inning after Stowers got the base hit. It was a 3-2 slider, got it up, punched it out to left center field, and Stowers scored from first base. And then he gets a punch out on Hicks. He gets Noby, 0-1 fastball, and what does he do? He gets a fastball up, solid base hit to left field, 2-0. Comes back and strikes out Myers. He's had times in this game where his stuff was electric. It's the 2-strike approach that I think he has to nibble a little bit more instead of going after him. He does not have that big put-away pitch. He can if he gets it down in the zone, but he's missing up, and that's what's chased him. He has a nice 4th and 5th inning, goes 1-2-3 in the 4th, walks a guy in the 5th, only throws 11 pitches and 13 in the 5th, so he goes 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. The put-away pitch, the strike 3 pitch, it's not there. At times it is, but at times in this game and his last outing, he has changed the pitch, and he's got it up in the zone, and it hurt him. Overall, 86 pitches, 59 for strikes, 2 ground balls, 8 fly balls. This is only his second start now. You have to remember he was on the IL with a lat, came back, threw a little bit, only think 3 1/3. This game he pushed himself a little bit, got 86 pitches. So, he is getting back in shape, but the Giants just are not scoring runs for him as he goes 0-5. Going back on the offensive side, the only real threat the Giants had was when Kristen Koss hit the home run. That came in the 5th inning. It made it 3-2. Then a walk to Yastrzemski. Then Devers hits into a ground ball force play. This is what happened in this game. Elliot Ramos hits a double down the third base line, and I still don't know. I did not catch it if Matt Williams put the stop sign up or if he was waving them home. I'll find out as I look back in this game. But Devers was out by more than 3 feet. Was it a good call? Did Devers miss the stop sign? Was he waving in? Because at that time it would have been 2nd and 3rd with 2 outs. And, of course, Wilmer Flores is the main man when it comes up with runners in scoring position. That was the only inning, really, when the Giants could have got back in this game. After the 5th inning, after the 5th inning, 0 for 11 with 2 walks. They didn't get a hit after the 5th inning. Now you got to look at what the Miami Marlins bullpen did. They were lights out. They do have some young arms down there that really throw a ball well. When you look on the offensive side, they're 12th in Major League Baseball with over a 250 batting average. The Giants are 24th with a 232 batting average. They have 59 stolen bases. This is a young, prosperous team that are trying to make waves, and they did. Like I said, they beat the Braves 2 out of 3. They lost to the Phillies 3 out of 4, but they swept the Nationals 3 out of 3. So there's some upcoming in Miami, but the Giants have to get better. 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position once again. They only get 5 hits. 1 by Devers, 1 by Ramos, 1 by Lee, 1 by Schmidt, and a home run by Koss. Yes, frustrating loss after a great weekend where you see Miami coming in for 3. Then the Giants travel to play the White Sox for 3. These 6 games, I think, are very important for the Giants to win all of them. Not just a couple. Every one of them they need to fight and win. Tomorrow, Logan Webb takes the hill for the Giants. He's 7-5 with a 2.4. The month of June, he has just been pitching outstanding. 2-0 with a 1.6 and 4 starts. But he's also going against Edward Cabrera, who shut down the Giants in Miami, where he went 5 2/3 innings, 6 hits, no runs. And he ended up getting that win when it was 1-0. So a good game tomorrow on tap, but the offense got to come back. 415-808-KNBR. Get on the phone lines. Let's talk about this game, what's coming up. My name's Bill Lasky. This is Sports Phone KNBR. We'll be right back on the Sports Leader.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sports Phone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Here's the 0-2 pitch to Koss. Swinging a drive. Deep to left field. It is out of here! Christian Koss' second home run of the year, and the Giants are back in it. He had hit the top of the wall, or at least maybe just behind it, and then took a big bounce into the bleachers. And that's what they're looking for, and they get it out of the bottom of the lineup.
Back on Sports Phone KNBR on a Tuesday night with Bill Lasky. Dwayne Kuiper calling the Christian Koss home run in the fifth inning. An 0-2 slider that caught up a little bit, and Koss didn't miss it. He got the Giants to a 3-2 mark at that point. As before the game, Tyler Fitzgerald was optioned to AAA. Justin Verlander came off the paternity leave for the move to get Justin Verlander active on the roster. And you're going to see a lot of Christian Koss as well as Brett Wisely. He's the only two second basemen that are active right now for the Giants. Once Matt Chapman gets ready to go here, he's been taking ground balls, swinging the bat a little bit. Still a ways to go. You might see Casey Schmidt move over to second base. He's still hitting the ball well as he goes 1 for 4 tonight with a base hit. Really lined the ball his first at bat in the second inning. Hit a bullet out to left field. It was caught by the left fielder, but he's been swinging the ball very consistently, and we'll see what happens. But he's been playing good third base, so he's not going anywhere until Matt Chapman is 100%. But, we go back to Justin Verlander, and I'm talking about velocity and locations. And sometimes as a veteran pitcher, you'll try to make the perfect pitch. And I think that's what's happening with Verlander on some of the pitches he's making once he gets ahead. And they're taking advantage of it, hitting the ball the opposite way, going with power numbers out to left center field with Wagman's double. The double from Sanchez that Yastrzemski played off the wall just bobbled a little bit for an error. Sanchez hit that curveball extremely well. That was a 2-2 curveball down, but as a left-hand hitter, the ball down is where they like it, and he launched it. Sanchez really had a nice game today, going 2 for 5. Bob Melvin talked a little bit about Justin Verlander in the post-game show. Let's hear what Bob has to say.
Tonight, I wish we knew. I mean, we get 5 hits tonight. So, look, he didn't pitch bad. He gave up 3 runs, punched out 5, only walked 1. There are a lot of things to like. I think he's getting really close here to where he knows where the ball's going. The velo was good at times. We're just not scoring him any runs, unfortunately. I don't know if we're just kind of pressing because we want to and we want to get him a win. And we talk about it a little bit in the hitters' meetings, but for whatever reason, we have not supported him well.
That was Bob Melvin on a post-game show, and it's extremely hard when you're looking at a 42-year-old right-hander that's really trying to get to 300 wins. He's short right now. He hasn't got a win, and here we're talking June 24th, and he's 0-5, even though he had a stint on the IL with the lat issue. He's thrown well enough to win. It's just like Bob said, they're grinding, trying to get runs for him, and there's just no opportunities to get any kind of lead for Justin Verlander. So you start thinking back of what the Giants could have done and how they got into this game after Koss hit the home run to left field, a walk by Yastrzemski, a forced play by Devers, and Elliot Ramos comes up against Anthony Bender, and he hits a bullet down the left field line. And if you remember, Devers beat that throw out to first base. It would have been a double play. And the question was, did Matt Williams send him? Did Matt Williams put the stop sign up? Well, through some reports I just read, Matt Williams was sending him. He was sending him home. So here's a cut that Bob Melvin talks about that play.
What was your view of the Devers send, and how did Devers come out of that? Looked like he kind of came out of it a little ginger.
No, he's okay. He's fine.
And what was your view of like the send overall?
Yeah, we got 5 hits tonight. Got to try to be aggressive and tie a game.
The aggressiveness cost Devers. He was out by a good 2 feet, and the Giants were looking to take the lead at that time. And from that point on, the Giants didn't get a hit since the 5th inning. At the end of 5 innings, they had 5 hits. At the end of the game, they had 5 hits. They only had 2 walks in the 6th, 7th, and 8th, 9th inning, and that's 2 walks total. 13 players came to the plate. They went 0 for 11, and the last one was a double play by Casey Schmidt. 415-808-KNBR if you want to give me a call, talk about this game, talk about Verlander. Lines are open. Bill Lasky's hosting tonight. I'll be on again tomorrow. But now it puts the circumstances right back into Logan Webb, who seems to be the stopper. He's the ace of the team. This is a series you have to win when you're playing a team under 500. The Marlins 31-45 coming into this game. And like I told you before, they won 2 out of 3 against the Braves in Miami against a tough Braves team. So they do have a little momentum coming in tomorrow when you're looking at Edward Cabrera, a guy that's throwing pretty good for him, 59 innings, 56 hits, 63 strikeouts. The walks are up at 26. The last game, the Giants struggled with him in Miami. He went 5 2/3, giving up 6 hits, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. So you just wonder, hey, here we go again. Are we looking for another game where the offense could possibly come back and score some early runs for Logan Webb? Logan Webb came out of that last game in 7 innings, and he was hunting. He was down 1-0, and sure enough, the Giants came back and scored, and he got the win 2-1 against Cleveland. He went 7 innings, 7 hits, 1 earned run. The Dodger game, he won 2 in a row. He beat the Dodgers on 7 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs. And I keep talking about the month of June. He has just sprung extremely well. Could be a pitcher of the month at 28 innings, 21 hits, 3 walks, 30 strikeouts with a 1.61 earned run average. So this does, put a little pressure on the hitters. We talk about the Boston Red Sox series, that last game at Sunday, when the Giants scored 9 runs, 11 hits, 2 errors. But in those 11 hits, they had 3 home runs, Schmidt, Yastrzemski, and Adames, and it really led the charge. If you remember what happened in that game, an error by the second baseman, Gonzalez, and that happened in the 7th inning, and it opened the doors. The Giants ended up getting a base hit by Devers, a double by Ramos, and it ended up getting 4 runs in the 7th inning that put the Giants ahead. They added 1 more in the 8th with a home run by Adames, and they win the game 9-5 in a great comeback in game. And that was an exciting game. On Saturday, they beat Boston 3-2. They had 3 runs, 4 hits in that game, so only 4 hits in that game. The home run by Ramos in the 1st inning, a 2-run home run by Devers in the 3rd inning after an error when Kisner hit the ball to David Hamilton, and he made an error. So when you're looking at a couple of these games the Giants have won, it has been some terrible errors and defense from the opposing team. Today, it didn't bother them. They didn't hit the ball. You heard Bob Melvin talking about 5 hits. They got to get better. You go into these team meetings. You go into these batting meetings. You get into all the information you can on Cal Quantrill. And what he did today, he had the cutter running, and the cutter can go third, or goes from 3 to 9 if you're looking at a clock. A lot of balls that slide. He also had his 2-seamer going. That was a ball that hit Ramos in the elbow. The ball kind of moves in on the inside to a righty, away to a lefty. A couple curveballs and sliders. He kept them off balance. He went 4 2/3, giving up 4 hits, only 2 earned runs. He could have gone a third of an inning. If I was a starting pitcher, I'd have been scratching my head. 1 more out, I would have been able to get the win. But, the Marlins didn't want to go that. They went to Bender, Gibson, Henriquez, and Fauci. And sure, at the end of the game, you look at this line score, and the bullpen just pitched extremely well, going 4 1/3 innings and shut the Giants out. On the Giants side, I do want to talk a little bit about the bullpen. Sean Jelly came in with a nice 1-2-3 inning in the 6th inning, which they needed because they had just scored the 2 runs. It's kind of a shutdown inning for Sean Jelly. He threw 11 pitches, 7 for strikes. And then Ryan Walker came in, and the hit by Walker by Xavier Edwards, that ball's in on his hands. And when you inside out right down the third base line. You saw the pictures on television and a video of it. It's just a great hitters. Those are the great hitters right there. Rod Carews, the Tony Gwynns. When you see a hole on the opposite side and you push the ball that way, that's what's so great about him. Wade Boggs was fantastic at that. But there's hitters like this, and this is a guy that had 5 for 5 when you remember the last game in Miami when the Giants won 4-2. He was injured. He comes back on that last game, goes 5 for 5. Today he goes 2 for 4. He's hitting 293 on the season with 14 stolen bases. So here's a guy that puts the ball in play. That's what I like about him. And a lot of other teams, this team goes the opposite way. I don't know if you heard Dave Fleming on the radio side. He kept talking about having the ball travel into zone more where they can go the opposite way. So we'll find out. You know, this is a tough game. This really is. And when you start looking at what the Giants have been doing, they've been playing good baseball. Of course, on this homestand, they've been 3-3 going into this game. So tomorrow's a big game. They got to win this series so they can go into Chicago and play the White Sox on the weekend. All right, let's go to the phone line. Let's go out to Saratoga. How are you today, Lee? What's going on? Hello?
Hey, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, good evening. All right. Love the show. Always appreciate talking ball before and after the game.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. I mean, I
about-
tell you, one quick question. Let me just throw it to you. I didn't catch your on the screen on my screen board. I don't have a name up on the name, so I just want to ask you your first name, sir.
Oh, yeah, this is Sed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I appreciate that, Seth. Thank you.
No worries, yeah. And, you know, I catch most of the games on the radio, actually, and was able to watch the game today, which was nice. And I want to talk about Jung-Hoo Lee, and he had a really good start to the season. Seemed like, you know, not so much power to hit her over the fence, but gap-to-gap, doubles, triples. Seems like he started off pretty well. And I saw him today, and just wanted to get your thoughts since you're probably watching, you know, day to day, and get your thoughts on. Seems like the power's not quite there anymore. And what do you see from him? And you know, does something look off, or just?
Yeah, you know,
get
Seth, you
your
know,
thoughts. It seemed like
it's
things started
interesting.
well.
It's interesting. Yeah, you interesting where you bring him up because you know you remember him hitting over 300 in the month of June. He's just gone straight down. A lot of them have been fly balls. Fly balls or quick ground balls to second base today.
Yeah,
You
just
know, he
rolling
hits the
over
first
and,
ball to center. Yeah, first ball he hits the center field, and then he gets a base hit off the pitcher's foot. Of course, that was a line drive. But again, rolled over to second base. It took a nice walk leading off the ninth inning on 4 straight pitches. I just don't see him using all the field anymore. I don't see him going to left field like we saw. He's trying to pull the ball and staying under the ball. More fly balls than anything. And I would want to see him hit more ground balls. With his speed, especially going to the opposite way, he could probably beat a lot of those out. It just hasn't been the same, and Bob Melvin gave him a couple of days off here and there, thinking that maybe a day of rest would help, but it has not changed the swing path, and I think the swing path has to go back to being that slap hitter.
Yeah, it just seems a bit disappointing. And, you know, I hate to bring up Adames when talking about disappointing, but just another night. Would have loved to see him capitalize a little bit with runners in scoring position. But, you know, again, just you're rooting for him. But
Boy, he has
tough.
been struggling, hasn't he, said? He has been struggling with runners in scoring position. It just seems, and even Kruk and Kipe talked about on the TV side, here's a time to get a base hit or something when Jung-Hoo Lee got onto second base and there was a runner in scoring position and he flew out to center field. And that would have just given him a run. And you do generate some momentum when you do a key hit like that. It's just a runner in scoring positions has haunted this team in the month of June. Today, 0 for 4. Sunday, they hit the hell out of the ball. Saturday, they didn't hit well, but they still got 3 runs on 2 home runs. Somehow this offense got to get going, and you can't just say, wait till Matt Chapman comes back. You got teams now that you can steamroll. You got teams that you got to get better at bats on against the Marlins, the White Sox, even the Diamondbacks. They lost Carol Corbin
Carroll,
with a broken hand. I'd get it out there sooner. But these are teams, and then you go after that to the Athletics. So the next 2 weeks after this whole battle that they've had in the month of June with so many good teams, this is when I believe this offense needs to get going. And if we could see what they did on Sunday and build
Honestly,
off of
I saw
that,
the
but
Marlins.
today they were stale tonight.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I saw the Marlins. Honestly, I didn't think it was going to be a gimme. I mean, they've been playing tough, well, and you know, the White Sox. Yeah, I can give them those 2 or 3 maybe, but I definitely wasn't expecting the Marlins to just roll over. So I'm not totally
Right.
surprised with the outcome, but just,
Yeah, you don't want to say you're looking over them because you can never do that in Major League Baseball, no question. But when
Yeah.
you're looking at a team 31-45 and you win them 2 out of 3 in Miami, but there was really no offense on either side, win those 3 games. So tomorrow you got Logan Webb on the hill. Logan did not pitch against the Marlins.
Yeah, he's my guy.
He's come off 2 real good outings against the Dodgers and the Guardians. So we'll see what he puts up there tomorrow in the first pitch.
Yeah, that game against the
6:45
Dodgers was
right
big
here.
time for him, so I was
It
proud
sure
of him.
was. Well,
He's
Seth,
showing
thanks
there,
for the
so-
call on a Monday or Tuesday night. I appreciate your time tonight. Let's go out to Hawaii and talk to my buddy Bert. Bert, how are you this evening?
Hey, I'm doing fine. Thank you, Bill. How are you? How are you doing?
Just frustrated. After Sunday's game, I was looking for really, bats coming out flying. I really felt that they had some good momentum with 3 home runs, 11 hits, but it just didn't come to fashion today when they only had 5 hits, and after the 5th inning, they didn't even get a hit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm frustrated too. I listen to all the games every day, so it is frustrating. Matt Williams, third base coach, I don't know if a couple games, but lately he's been making some poor third base decisions and third base coaching decisions, and it's I know it's a hard thing to do to be a third base.
Yeah,
coach
the quick
and stuff,
reaction. It's such hard quick reaction. And, Bob Melvin talked about it after the game. He said, I was glad he did it. I was glad he'd be an aggressive. That was a play that it had to be a bang-bang play, and they made 2 perfect throws. So, when you're not hitting, like Bob Melvin said, when you're not hitting, you have to try something to try to be aggressive. That time it didn't work. The other time I think you remember was Elliot Ramos coming around third base. And he sent him and he got thrown out. That was a few days. That was an earlier part of this homestand, I do believe. There was some times like that. And then you got to look at the other side is when he does wave them in on good plays where they score. It can't just go back to Matt Williams on one play. The Giants did not hit today.
Sure, going back to Matt Williams, and that's correct. Elliot Ramos was one, but there was another play I think after that in the Dodgers game in which he held a runner, and I think he held the runner because of that Elliot Ramos one. And I think that game was the game that the Giants went ahead. That's the Devers, the Father's Day game in which the Giants should have had one more run. They were up 1 run, and then Matt Williams had held the runner, and then the ball kind of went over the cutoff man, and by then the runner had stopped. But anyway, those are
I tell you, Bert, it's a tough job. You go back to all the way. You go back to Tim Flannery. You go back to Ron Wotus. You go back in my days when Jimmy Davenport was coaching third. It is such a quick reaction, especially with the guys and how good their arms are, how good they hit relays, and then how the relay gets to cut home. It's a tough job, and you do bite it. Sometimes you're biting your nails after you do it, and it's the hardest thing when they get thrown out. I think it hurts the third base coach more than it hurts the team or the players.
Yeah, sure. And getting back to Verlander again, I don't know. It wasn't a great. It was an average outing.
Well, my biggest question, Bert, is what are you as a fan expecting out of 42-year-old Justin Verlander? That's what we have to really look at. A 42-year-old Justin Verlander's trying to get 5 or 6 innings in. I said his velocity and his spins rates were good today. Location, once he got ahead, hurt him. And he's been making a lot of location mistakes. And every time it seems that he does, they're hitting doubles or going opposite way with base hits. And he's given up runs. His last outing, he gave up 2 0-2 pitches that both were doubles. Today, he gave a couple that he had 2-2, 1-2s, but they were meat of the plate. They weren't corner pitches. They were down, but most of them were up where they got the head of the bat on. And the one I'm thinking about is Wagaman, who drilled that ball to the left center field. They scored their first run off.
Yeah. And that's why the expectations, but for me, the expectations is that I see Verlander, and he just gives up runs so early in the game, and the Giants,
that's the
offense
problem.
is not that good. for chasing.
Yeah, and they're constantly chasing. That's the big issue, and you're absolutely right, Bert. He gives up the early runs that are trying to chase to tie it or go ahead. Bob Melvin was talking about it in a post-game show. We're trying to get him runs. The team wants to get him a win, but you got to put some zeros on the board to get that. And his last 2 outings coming after the IL have been above average or average. I'm going to go both ways on that. But we just got to find out, Bert. I mean, they're going to keep running him out there. That's why they signed him, and he's healthy now. So we'll see what he does. His next start will be in Chicago against the White Sox, and hopefully he'll get the win.
But do you think Posey would ever cut him or put him to the bullpen?
I don't think so. No, I don't believe they'll do that. They signed him as a veteran leader. They gave him $15 million. If he gets injured again, you might see Carson Wisenhunt. He might be the next guy up. I just don't see them doing anything. He's a good pitcher. The experience is there. He thinks a lot. He understands the game. He understands his body. He understands his release point. It's just trying to make better pitches instead of trying to make that perfect pitch. And I think that's what's hurting. But, Bert, thanks again, buddy. Thanks again for calling in.
Thank you,
it's
Bill.
always a pleasure talking to you, my buddy. All right, take care. All right, coming up next, I'm going to talk to Ben Ross. Ben Ross, as you know, works for Channel 4 Sports. I've had a pleasure knowing Ben for many years, and we're going to talk to him about this game and what does he think about the Giants so far. Ben Ross coming up next right here on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. We'll be right back on The Leader.
YouTube at KNBR 1045.
All right, back on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. Justin Verlander, pretty upset at himself. He's saying, I can't give this team enough zeros on the board. I'm giving up too many early runs, and they're chasing it just like we just talked about. So he's saying, I feel good. I feel good with my stuff. But again, I constantly continue to keep my team fighting to try to tie the game. So, this is a man that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He understands what baseball is all about, and he's been battling every game. He's just not there yet, and I think that's going to be a big question as we get into the second half. What are they going to do with Justin Verlander? We'll find out. I mean, he's up to 86 pitches, and maybe my guest can give me the answer. Let's bring in my man, Ben Ross. Of course, he works for Channel 4 Sports. Ben, how are you this evening?
Hey, doing well. How are you?
I'm good, Ben. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure talking to you. Of course, you and I have known each other for many years, just haven't crossed paths. Do a great job on Channel 4, now back on television. How do you enjoy it?
Yeah, thanks a lot. No, I'm excited to be on the show, and I've been at Cron 4 about a year now. It's been great. I've just enjoyed getting to cover as much baseball as I do. So, we've got a 30-minute show every night, Monday through Friday. So there's plenty of content for us to create.
You got to jam it all in there, too. Well, let's talk about this game. We've been talking about Justin Verlander, Ben, for a good half hour. And, here's a 42-year-old that will be in the Hall of Fame eventually. Cy Young, All-Stars, all the things that you can put accolades on him. But is he going to be able to stay in this rotation as the season continues?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think, obviously, it helps his odds that Kyle Harrison has been traded. But, last year was clearly really tough for him in Houston. He's been a little bit better this year, I think, the win-loss record sort of notwithstanding. But, you can just see that he's clearly – the stuff is not even close to what it used to be. And, he's 42. He obviously has a lot of experience, and sometimes older pitchers just find other ways to get guys out. He's a smart guy. He knows how to pitch. He's been in the league for a long time. And again, he hasn't been awful. He talked about giving up a few early runs, but I have a hard time thinking he's going to be much more than this. I think if you're the Giants and you're counting on him being a whole lot better than what we're seeing right now, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I look at an average pitcher. We look at what he used to be with Detroit and Houston. It was quicker. The breaks were faster. The spins were faster. The velocity was higher. He's given it his best, but his best, is that going to be good enough for this Giants to keep him in this rotation? I think that's going to be the big question as we get to All-Star break.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, I think it's sort of what Houston had to deal with last year. As well, second half of the season and going into the playoffs. And I guess the question also becomes for the Giants right now, if you do take him out of the rotation, who goes in his place? You do have some young guys down in the minors. As I said, Harrison now gone. But, yeah, I think, it's funny. So I was talking with Scott Reese earlier today, who's the sports director at Cron 4, and I thought he made a good point because everyone sort of talked about how the Giants' bats have struggled this year, but, the pitching is great. And the pitching has been really good. But when you look a little closer at the starting rotation, I think there's some question marks. It's not a sure thing. The top of the rotation is terrific. Logan Webb and Robbie Ray have been outstanding. But after that, there are some questions with Verlander, and, Birdsong has come down to earth a little bit. Landon Roop's been really good, but, he's another guy who can you really count on him to be great for the rest of the season? I don't know. So I think the Giants, everyone's talking about adding backs, which is great, and the Devers addition is huge. I'd be interested to see if they try and go out and get another starting pitcher before the deadline.
A veteran, probably. That's what you're probably looking for, too. And I see exactly what you're talking about. You got Landon Roop and Birdsong, both rookies, 26 and 23 years old. They have Roop through a hell of a game his last outing. Of course, he got beat up in L.A. But, you got to give these guys some room to maneuver and grow. I don't think Birdsong and Roop are going anywhere. I think the spot we're talking about is probably Justin Verlander. We look at what's in AAA. Carson Wisenhunter, number 2 prospect, has been pitching great. So if you bring him up, now you got 3 rookies in the rotation, and now what are you going to be stabilized on? I think that's a big question mark. And Harrison, you can't say he was going to be stable in the rotation either. He was another 23-year-old. But do you sacrifice young talent to get a veteran starter? I'm sure they're having question marks about it. I'm hearing they have a lot of discussions about it because, as you say, I agree with you. There is maybe one hole in that rotation, and I hate to say it, it's Justin Verlander.
Well, I think the other thing is, the old saying, you can never have too much starting pitching. Obviously, yeah, I would love to see Wisenhunt get his shot later this year. But, right now, not only did they lose Harrison and they trade Jordan Hicks as well, and I know that he wasn't very good this year, but you just have less bodies right now as far as starting pitchers go. And so who knows, injuries happen, fatigue happens. You like to have options. And so I think they would like a little more depth in that rotation. Like you said, a combination of youth and maybe adding a veteran too, but it is a really good thing that they've got this many young arms who have looked so good. I think that's something to be excited about.
That voice you hear on Sports Phone KNBR with me is Ben Ross. Of course, you see him on Channel 4 covering sports. Does a great job. You look at the offense, and we keep talking about the same guys. Adames not coming through with runners in scoring position. Jung-Hoo Lee has really fallen off majorly in the month of June. Just he cannot get on base like he was, and he's not spraying the ball in all the different positions that he used to, going to left field, center, and right. He's pulling the ball, popping up. 2 big guys that they need in this lineup to produce, Ben.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. I think this lineup is not going to fulfill its potential if those guys don't start to hit. And look, we know it's baseball. It's a long season. When you talk about a guy like Jung-Hoo Lee, who got off to a great start and has been slumping recently, part of it is just the ups and downs of the season, and hopefully he'll make the adjustment and sort of get himself going again. I think certainly there's plenty of concern about Willy Adames just because, not just what they're paying him, but I think what they were expecting him to do in the lineup. As I said, the Devers addition is huge, and I know it hasn't necessarily paid big-time dividends yet, just as far as offensive production as a team, but I think that we will see that continue to happen. But yeah, and look, this lineup needs Willy Adames to hit and hit for power. This lineup needs Jung-Hoo Lee. I think the other thing that obviously the lineup needs is Matt Chapman to come back, and it sounds like he's on the path, and that will certainly help. And obviously Ramos has been terrific, but yeah, I think you kind of identified the 2 guys in Jung-Hoo Lee and Willy Adames who, they need to start producing, because I don't think this lineup is deep enough to count on some of the guys toward the bottom part of the order.
You bring up Matt Chapman, Ben, and he's on the mend. He's taking ground balls. He hasn't really started throwing to some active catch, gripping a bat. The whole right hand is still injured. You may not see him for another couple weeks. He wants to get back for the Dodgers series, but why would you push it for 3 games when you have the All-Star break where you could rest it another week?
Right.
Casey Schmidt is the guy I really want to talk to you about. He is just hitting the hell out of the ball. Coming into the game, 17 for 41, 10 for 21 on this homestand. He goes 1 for 3 today, or 1 for 4 today. Really making a big difference for this kid. This kid's playing. He's seeing the ball better, hitting all different positions on the field. What have you seen out of him? Because now they're saying maybe he'll be the second baseman when Chapman comes back.
Right, and that's exactly what I was going to bring up. And, how great would that be if you could plug him in at second base? Obviously, you hope that Tyler Fitzgerald can go down to AAA and sort of find his swing again and regain the confidence that we saw last year. But you're right. I mean, Casey Schmidt, I don't want to say necessarily a pleasant surprise, because I think, we knew that he had this type of potential and he was a highly thought of prospect. But we talked about some of the veteran guys the Giants were counting on for offense, and what they're getting from Schmidt right now is certainly a bonus. I mean, look, that's the other thing that I think a team like the Giants need is some of their younger players and some of maybe the bottom of the order surprise type guys to contribute, because when some of the bigger name players are not producing, it needs to be sort of a 1 through 9 type of thing. And Schmidt has been terrific. I mean, not just hitting, but he's been hitting for power. You know, he's got I think he's got 4 home runs this month. So that's definitely a plus. I think, the Giants are such an interesting team because I don't know how much of it is the ballpark. It's obviously a pitcher's park, and it feels like no matter who they play at Oracle Park, it's going to be a close game, a close, low-scoring game more times than not into the late innings. They just have to kind of go back to finding that big hit. I think when they struggle is when they can't hit with runners in scoring position, and unfortunately, that's what we've seen on this homestand.
That runners in scoring position has been bothering this team for years. That's been the multiple questions I get on every show is, Bill, how are they going to fix this? Bill, what are they going to do differently? And it's really adjustments and putting the ball in play. But, Ben, most of the time when they're runners in scoring position, they strike out, and some of them are called strike threes. That's the frustrating part.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think, look, we've seen strikeouts go up across baseball, but I think the frustrating part for the Giants is that they're also not really hitting for much power. It's something you can forgive the strikeouts if you're also hitting a lot of home runs, but when you're a team that relies on putting the ball in play, and again, especially in a ballpark like Oracle where, it's cold and often windy and tough to hit the ball out. Yeah, you've got to find a way to put the ball in play. And how many times do you see it? You just put pressure on the defense, and sometimes good things happen. I think where the Giants run into trouble is, like you said, the strikeout comes into play. They'll go through some power droughts, but I feel like also they're not the fastest team. And I think I'm sure this has been talked about a ton. But, I'd like to see a little more stolen base opportunity, a little hit and run, trying to just spark the offense that way too.
Yeah, and you look at what Miami did. They had a nice hit and run off Bivens, and then Bivens really came back at first and third today with nobody out, and he comes back and punches out too, gets a fly ball to center field. He has been really pitching well out of the bullpen, and we really haven't talked. We talked about starting pitching. Let's talk a little bit about the bullpen, because this is number 1 in baseball. Today they only gave up 1 run by Walker, but a nice hit by Xavier Edwards going inside out on that. Other than that, this bullpen has been consistent every game.
And I think that's why the Giants have as good a record as they do right now, because you're right, the bullpen has been phenomenal. Like I said, it feels like every game they're in is a close one. They've played, I think, the most one-run games in the league this year, and their bullpen has been great. I mean, it not just the big names too, right? I mean, Eric Miller's been terrific, and obviously Randy Rodriguez having a breakout year. You talked about Spencer Bivens, who, I did a story on him recently, and the sort of the long route that he took to Major League Baseball, playing in multiple different countries and independently. I'm so happy for him to see his success, but he's a guy that I think is a little underrated because of his versatility. He can come into a big spot and get one big out. He can give you 2 or 3 innings if you need. He can start. When you talk to Bob Melvin about Bivens, he just loves the guy. And the bullpen, as I said, right now, to me, that's why the Giants have as good a record as they do. Their bullpen has probably been the most important part of the team so far this year.
Ben Ross joining me for a couple more minutes on Sports Phone KNBR. Of course, you can watch him on Channel 4 Cron Sports. Does a great job over there with my other friend, Scott Reese. I worked with Scott when I was doing TV at Comcast, so I've known Scott for many years. So let me ask you this, Ben. At the end of this homestand, they'll be having 81 games. That'll be half of the season, 81 games out of 162. If you had to put a grade on it, and if you had to analyze it, well, how would you tell me how the Giants did for the first half? Yeah,
that's a good question. I mean, I think I'd be inclined to grade pretty generously at this point. Either an A- or a B+. I mean, look, they're 44 and 35. They're right in the mix, and I think that we haven't seen really anything close to what their potential could be. I mean, again, the bullpen's been great, and their starting rotation, at least, the top part of it has been good. But I'm just impressed they've found a way to win as many games as they have so far without Willy Adames being who we thought he might be. With, really the whole offense struggling for a lot of the season outside of, Elliot Ramos and maybe a couple of other guys. But, yeah, I love I think there's a lot to be excited about in the second half. You've got Devers. It's still new. I think it was such a circus for him coming over with all the drama in Boston to have to play the Red Sox so early. I think, getting past that for him, and once he gets a chance to really settle into this clubhouse and just start focusing on baseball again, I think he's going to be a huge contributor. And I think he's going to make the rest of the lineup around him better too. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to look at the record, and 44 and 35 right now, a couple more games against Miami. Then you got the White Sox. Hopefully they can take care of business against some of these weaker teams. But they're right where they want to be. They're in a wild card spot right now. They're in contention.
Well, Ben, thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure talking to you, and have on more. And when I do these Sports Phone KNBRs, your insight was fantastic, and I appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, no, Bill, thanks a lot. Have me on anytime. Love to do it.
That was Ben Ross. Of course, you can watch him on KRON, Channel 4 Sports. And we're going to wrap up the show right now. The Giants lose a tough one, the first game of a 3-game series against the Miami Marlins. They lose 4-2, 4 runs, 11 hits, 1 error by Miami, 2 runs, 5 hits, 1 error for the Giants. A 2-run home run by Christopher Koss was the only 2 runs the Giants scored. Tomorrow, 6:45 first pitch, Logan Webb takes the hill for the Giants. He's 7-5 with a 2.4 earned run average, going against a right-hander, Edward Cabrera. He's 2-2 with a 3.81 earned run average. I'll be doing the Sports Phone KNBR postgame show tomorrow, so I want to thank my producer, Jacob Vellante. He did a great job. A couple calls tonight. We'll do it again tomorrow, but I just want to say be safe, be well, have a great rest of the night, and we'll have more coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.